Hi, everybody. Today we're going to build on what we were talking about yesterday about different parts of the flower and how flowers help plants reproduce. So today we're going to talk about how does a flower actually become fertilized and how does it eventually grow into the plants that we see outside today. Okay? Sound good, Bones? Still got those flowers? All right, here we go. So fertilization takes place when the pollen, which is, remember, on top of the stamen, the male part of the flower, breaks open and makes its way over to the pistil. Now, this can happen in many different ways. You can just be walking by and kick a flower, and it will break open, and you get all that yellow stuff on you, but some of it will stick to the stigma part of the pistil, which is the top of the pistil. It can be an insect flying in there, like a bee, and breaking it open. It could just be the wind blowing that breaks open the anther. The anthers of the stamen are very delicate. So any really kind of disturbance can break open that anther and pollen starts flying everywhere. That's why you get all that yellow stuff on cars and bikes and the road, and it makes you sneeze and all that kind of stuff. So in order for fertilization to happen, the pollen has to get from the anther to the pistil, okay? Which is why the anthers tend to be longer than the pistil, but not always, okay? Then what happens is the pollen grains will make their way down, as you can see here, the style of the pistil all the way into the ovary of the pistil, where the pollen, if it enters an egg, okay, will fertilize the egg and the plant will start to develop from there. Okay, so the first thing that has to happen is pollen has to go from the stamen to the pistil somehow. Now, what kind of things can allow that to happen? Well, as I just said a little bit, insects are a great way. Okay, you can see the pollen grains, okay, get stuck to a bee while the bee's flying around in the flowers looking for nectar, looking for all of that kind of stuff, and gets stuck to him. And then he'll go fly to another flower and it will just rub off on him. And the stigma of the pistil is very sticky. All right, so as soon as that bee lands on there, that pollen grains get stuck on that pistil for it to be able to move. Birds are another example of how pollen goes from one flower to another. The pollen will get stuck to this hummingbird's beak. He'll finish with one flower, move to another one, and he'll transfer the pollen that way. Then we have butterflies that do the same thing. Again, all of the pollen sticks to them. They fly from flower to flower looking for food and being attracted by the petals because of the scent and the pretty colors, and they transfer the pollen around with them. Wind and rain can happen. It can rain, and the pollen grains could just bust open and fly all over the place. So any kind of disturbance that you can think of that's going to allow the pollen to move from one spot to another fairly close, in close range, will help to help pollinate the flower and fertilize it. These are what's known as pollinators. Okay, pollinators help move pollen from the male parts of the flower to the female parts of the flower. Now, what happens after fertilization occurs? Well, a fertilized egg develops into a seed, okay? This is what a picture of a seed looks like. Everybody's seen seeds before, okay? Now, inside the seed, you have a little tiny undeveloped plant. That's what's known as an embryo, okay? An embryo is the little tiny undeveloped part of the plant that lies in the seed. Now, in order for it to start to grow, the seed needs proper amounts of temperature and moisture in order to germinate or sprout, in order to start to grow. Now, here's the problem. We know that plants undergo photosynthesis. They need light, okay, in order to produce sugar and start to grow and make the new and be able to flourish. Well, when it's a seed and it's buried under the ground, it doesn't get light. So how does this embryo start to grow if there's no light available? Well, it definitely needs the right temperature outside. We can't go planting our gardens and seeds in our vegetable gardens in the middle of winter. That's just not going to happen. Okay. It definitely needs the right amount of moisture, the right amount of rain. Okay. But how does it get that food that it needs, that nutrients, in order for it to start to grow without the light? There's a secret. The secret lies within the seed. Inside the seed, we have this big part here. This is what's known as the cotyledon. The cotyledon is the part of the seed that contains stored food. Okay, it's like bringing lunch to school. It's pre-made for the embryo to be able to use while it's underneath the ground, starting to sprout. Okay, that This is what's known as the cotyledon. All this is just food. That's it. It's protected by something called the seed coat, the hard outer shell coating of the seed. Well, eventually this embryo is going to be absorbing all of this food, and it will break out of the seed coat and start to grow up towards the sky. Once it sprouts and those green leaves are exposed to sunlight, it can start producing photosynthesis. Now, the ovary, where the seed was originally developed, ends up becoming a fruit. Okay, so when you eat an apple or you eat a peach, what you're really doing is you're eating plant ovaries. They're delicious, love them, but it is a plant ovary. And that's really all you have to know about plants. Okay, flowers and all the fun that comes with them. Until next time, Bones and I say, see you later.